concentrates. Now, we don't actually need to eat fat concentrates because all the protein foods contain fat. Meat is about 18% fat. Soya beans are 18% fat. Sunflower seeds are 45% fat. And nuts, as I said earlier, are high in fat. Eggs, I think, average out at something like 15 to 18% fat. And I repeat, the block cheese is about 33%. So we don't need extra fat, but they go very well as a garnish. Vegetable oil for salad dressing. Coconut fat. If you want to stir fry, and frying is the most unhealthy process, but if you do want to do some light stir frying, and that can be okay occasionally, if you use a pure coconut fat, which it does not go rancid, you're making the process fairly safe. So it's ideal to use coconut fat. In fact, stored for a long time, coconut fat doesn't go rancid. Interestingly, compared to red meat, the fat in red meat, coconut fat is twice as saturated as red meat. And for a long time, people thought, oh, well, you shouldn't eat that. Then people became aware that the molecule in coconut fat is a different shape from that in meat, cheese and eggs, and it is not only does it not form fat on the hips and thighs and belly, but coconut fat can go straight to the liver to be processed for energy. So coconut fat is actually a very good fat, and it is believed now to be quite safe to eat and quite good to eat in small amounts. Obviously any fat like that's very concentrated, small amounts. Flax oil. This is a brand where the flax oil, this omega-3 rich oil, is extracted in a nitrogen atmosphere. So when the oil goes into the can, this super source of omega-3, this most unsaturated of all oil, of all fats, that we do not get enough of in the Western world, there is no oxidation. The oil is completely fresh, and I find that I use this regularly. I pour out what I need, put the lid straight back on, put it back into the fridge, and I find it lasts for weeks without going rancid. A marvellous salad dressing to make those relatively bland salad foods tasty is 2 parts flax oil, 1 part apple cider vinegar, 1 part tamari, which is the pure soya sauce, and shake them up in a small screw top jar and pour them over your steamed vegetables or your salad, and they taste like they're barbecued. 2 parts flax oil, 1 part apple cider vinegar, 1 part tamari, or adjust the components to suit yourself. And if you are using olive oil, and if you do need to fry and you don't have coconut oil, you could use extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin has the minimum of refining, so it's still got some protective antioxidants with it. Coming into the animal fats, butter and cream. Butter is, there's a lot of evidence, a lot of us believe that butter is far superior to margarine and far less harmful for the arteries. So, because margarine is so processed. Even though 90% of the population are using margarine, butter, just pure butter, is quite good in moderate, it's very concentrated in moderate amounts. Butter is about 80% fat, cream is about 40%. So this is an early stage of making butter. So if you want cream on fruit salad in moderate amounts, that should be reasonable occasionally. Now, coming into the extras, the drinks and the treats and the things that make food fun, we looked at fruits and veggies, protein foods, starchy carbohydrates, sugary carbohydrates, and fat concentrates. A guide with fat concentrates would be an upper limit of about 30 grams a day, or 30 mils of oil, or 30 grams a day, which is not a lot, but enough to be a nice garnish. So what to drink? Herb teas are quite outstanding. Rose hip, high in vitamin C. Chamomile tends to put you to sleep at night, so good for at bedtime. Fruit juices, very concentrated, so just go easy with fruit juice. Far better than soft drink, far better, because it's still a whole food, bar the fibre. But because you can swill down, that might be the juice of 2 big apples there, because you can swill that down, you're going to consume many of those, you'll be getting far too much sugar, or the fruit. Now, for a hot drink, apart from herb tea, ordinary coffee is very high in caffeine, and that can cause problems. It's a nerve poison, can be flogging the nerves. Alternatives to the caffeine include Caro and Echo, which are made from barley and other grains, and dandelion, which is made from the root of the dandelion. And actually dandelion is a liver tonic, so it's quite a good thing to use for a hot drink. Very different from coffee in its flavour, but if you can become acclimatised to one of these instead of regular coffee, your body's going to love you in the end. Soya milk. This is a brand which uses soy isolate, which is a protein extraction from the soya bean. Brands that use the whole bean, that are water and whole beans, are Aussie Soy, Vita Soy, So Natural, etc. So there are brands that don't use the isolate. And looking at, the other kind of drink that people love these days is alcohol. I have to be right and proper and pure and say that any amount of alcohol puts a load on the liver, and our livers these days are fairly busy dealing with animal products, with pesticides, etc. The beauty of red wine is that this is red because of the same antioxidants as these blueberries and the red grapes. And that means that if you're happy to be consuming red wine, if you juice these grapes, juice will be white, but when the wine is made they use the skins. So if you're happy to use red wine for your alcohol, then you've at least got some substantial benefit to offset the heavy load of the alcohol. This is tamari, very, very salty. It's made from soybeans and salt that have been fermented for about 3 years, and if it's pure, it's reasonable to use in small amounts, and at least it's sea salt for a start. So a most useful supplement is this sea kelp, harvested by a reputable family that we know personally on the south coast of New South Wales, where the ocean's very pure. It's just concentrated sea kelp, very high in minerals including iodine, which are very good for preventing thyroid problems that are caused by iodine deficiency. Could be very, very valuable nutrition to have some kelp granules, powder, sprinkled over every plate of steamed veggies or salad. More concentrated form of salt that's not ideal for us is Vegemite, Marmite, Promite, Mighty Mite. It's ordinary, regular, refined salt, but it does make things flavoursome. And if you accompanied a big plate of salad with a Promite sandwich, then it would be a net gain because it makes the salad appealing, and that's important. And jams, we can use jams. These days it's possible to buy jams that are free of refined sugar, which makes them tolerable to use in moderate amounts. Now, salt, if you like salt on your food, these days we don't have to depend on refined sea salt, which is just 2 minerals, sodium and chlorine, but rather either whole sea salt or better still, unrefined sea salt, or better still, Himalayan natural rock salt, and it's pink. Pink with, this has got about 86 minerals, I understand, and including all the minerals that the human body needs. Now, it's very high in sodium, so it's still not ideally balanced, but as a salt, it's far superior to ordinary table salt, and we could use small amounts of that without a great problem. Tomato sauce is certainly fun on certain foods, especially certain meat foods, but it does contain a fair amount of sugar and salt. So again, it's it is a processed food. Nutritional supplements. This is a brand that I take called Neolife, where every nutrient, where every supplement every product they offer is non-synthetic, extracted from plants, and that's what we've thought for a long time is ideal. Coming into treats, the Natural Health Guideline for making life not only livable but enjoyable and keeping good friends is that it's not what you do 5% of the time that governs health, it's what you do 95% that counts. Now, if someone has a serious illness, they need to be strict. Cancer or heart disease or stroke, etc., they need to be strict with their food from what we have learned. But in our ordinary everyday living, allowing a few treats in moderation, balanced by doing a really wholesome diet, otherwise the body can cope easily. Here is a cake. It's actually a date and banana cake. And cakes, just normal cakes, are basically white flour, which is refined and lost most of its minerals and vitamins, fat and sugar. So again, cakes are basically junk food. They're very nice, but they're basically junk food. If you can find one from wholemeal flour, that's quite an advantage. Coming into chocolates and things, we're all familiar with chocolate, and the stuff's very, very nice. And if it's 70% or 85% cocoa solids, which you can buy, they do become a bit bitter at those levels, then the very high level of antioxidants in the cocoa tends to offset the negatives of the chocolate. If chocolate has lower than those levels, lower than 70%, then there'll be too much white sugar. Here is a chocolate that's sugar-free, and it's a brand we've come across in Natural Health Society. 70% cocoa solids, very high in antioxidants. I'd say you could eat that with impunity, in small amounts, of course. And here's a carob frog instead of the regular frog. And here is actually a bar of carob milk chocolate, where carob is used instead of cocoa. And carob is naturally quite sweet. It's got a natural sugar level. It's very nutritious. It's good in calcium, and that is as the label says, it is truly better for you than ordinary chocolate. And otherwise, confectionery is basically white sugar and a lot of chemicals, etc. So there is a brief coverage of the main food items in the Western diet. So looking again, 3/4 of total food intake, fresh fruits and veggies, ideally more vegetables than fruits. We need some protein food in the day. We don't need the equivalent of a T-bone steak. We only need the equivalent of 2 eggs or, say, a smallish quantity of almonds. Although to chew through that many almonds, you'd be busy. Some starchy carbohydrate, especially in winter, it's heating food. The potato, pumpkin, sweet potato are excellent vegetables, and the quinoa bread is really good. Sugary concentrates, they're there for fun, and don't overeat them. And fat concentrates help other foods go down, as salad dressing, butter on bread, cream on fruit salad, and then these miscellaneous items. And having been involved with a diet like this for 46 years, since I changed to a natural health way of eating and living due to my own health problems, in my 20s I had blood poisoning, which a doctor couldn't believe happening to a 20-year-old. So I've seen the other side, and I've been so well for this length of time that I know that this way of eating, a balanced diet of natural unprocessed foods, produces superb results. And to confirm that, during my time as manager of Hopewood Health Retreat at Wallachia, New South Wales, west of Sydney, where I lived in for 7 years, and Hopewood is owned and operated by a registered charity, so it is ultimately not for profit. It is there only to help people. I saw people overcoming all sorts of illnesses that was absolutely extraordinary, basically through diet, through rest, and natural things like water hydrotherapy to treat pain, etc. And eating this way and using detox diets where fruits and veggies were the basis of detoxing, I saw people achieving spectacular results. So the experience from natural therapies, especially the Natural Health Society and also the Hopewood Health Retreat, is that our health is in our own hands. We can be as well as we want to be if we're prepared to make some changes and come to understand this way of eating and apply it in balance, recognising that we don't need to be rigid. We can still have the treats and the fun as long as we get it right most of the time. And that's the message from the Natural Health Society of Australia and from Roger French.